Hello, hello. It's Blue coming to you live from the Aya Sophia, where we will open our very first full box of the Whispers from the Maze set. I have definitely been enjoying this set thus far, and we definitely have seen a meta shift from some of the cards in this set. So, here's hoping we are able to pull a unique or two here that I can add to one of my decks to use for the upcoming qualifiers in North America. So, with all that being said, let's jump right into it with going fast as we open packs and taking some time to stop, look, analyze the uniques we do pull, and at the very end of the video, give a quick power rankings of the ones we get from this box. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with me, as well as liking and subscribing, because I am absolutely shameless. So, let's get into it, Blue.
All right, so here we go with my very first full box opening, actually, for Whispers from the Maze. At this point, I've only done really pre-releases and just random packs. I need to really get into these boxes that I have a whole case that I need to get through at some point. But yeah, I'm just gonna go through this, like I probably already mentioned, and take a look at the uniques realistically. We'll still open all the packs, go through all the cards, but probably only talk about the uniques like I have in previous box openings. So yeah, let's get into it. And fast forward elevator music now. First unique, I'm assuming I'll have this scanned already, and I have actually not seen the unique Scribbling Starfish art. It looks very different, and I quite like it a lot. I like the color change. But let's go ahead and go over it. We have a 3/3 Scribbling Starfish, 0/3/1 in stats. And then from anywhere, roll a die on 4+. The next character you play this afternoon costs 1 less. And then from hand, if there are 3 more base statistics of 0 among characters you control, you may discard target permanent. So, okay card. I guess the reserve, as well as when you play another character with base statistics of 0, I gain 1 boost. The from anywhere is nice, I guess, as far as cost reduction. It sucks that it has to go based off of the dice roll, but again, could be applied to like a Navinka deck when you're trying to dice roll, but most of the time, I'd imagine if you're running that type of deck, you probably want some type of card return like you see in those Mage Dancers. Either way, not something that I think I'll be using at the moment, but not horrible, especially with the prominence of some other permanents that we've had in this new set and being able to use that hand effect. But maybe wish the stats were a little bit better, even with having a 0 stat and having the other ones being a little bit higher, especially at 3 cost. But either way, really fun art. Glad we were able to see the unique Scribbling Starfish. Finally got another unique here in the form of a out of faction Grand Bois. Stats or cost is 4 from hand, 6 from reserve, 5/4/5 from anywhere if my expedition is behind, resupply, and from reserve you may have target opponent draw a card. If you do, I gain anchored. The art in itself is pretty cool, I think. As far as the actual effect within Ortis, I don't see this being a big card, at least in the current meta. Maybe potentially at some point we're gonna be doing a lot more resupplying in Ortis and we want cards to be resupplied. But at the moment, it costs a lot, and I think a lot of the Ortis cards these days are definitely more focused around lower cost cards as a whole, and even giving an opponent the ability to draw a card is probably not ideal, at least in a Ortis matchup, I think. But yeah, still cool card to get, and we'll keep on going. All right, third unique. We also saw a rare Mescatet. I think it's one of the first ones I've actually gotten, to be honest, which is kind of odd to think about. But either way, we'll take a look at the Izmir engraver here in the Out of Faction Lyra. 4 costs from hand, 5 costs from reserve, 0, 4, 5 in stats. From hand, if you control 1 or more landmarks, you may have target character gain a sleep, and then from reserve, you may spend 1 of my boosts. If you do, you may discard target character with hand costs 3 or less. So, interesting card. I think the effects in themselves are good. I think the problem is for the hand effect, typically not running a lot of landmarks in Lyra decks these days. I guess you could definitely be using some of the new landmarks that we may be throwing in there depending on the hero that we have. So not impossible, but probably not ideal. And then from reserve, it's similar to its other effect in this case, except in this scenario, as far as the rare is concerned, I think you can target permanents as well, but it's only 2 costs or less, I believe. So this one at least lets you hit 3 costs. It'd be cool if it was an arrow effect instead of just from reserve, but what can you do? But the support effect is when you play a character with base statistic of 0, I gain 1 boost, so standard there. I think the main thing that is holding this card back is just the overall cost of 4 or 5. Probably not going to want to be spending that much, even if the effect works out. So stats are still good for that type of thing, especially in Lyra, but probably not ideal as far as overall cost for the card itself. But I think it's probably on the better end of the uniques that we've seen thus far. Well, another out of faction Grand Bois. Interesting. We'll take a look at it here. 3 costs from hand, 5 costs from reserve, 3, 3, 4 in stats. From anywhere, if your companion expedition is behind, create an Ortis recruit soldier token in target expedition. Not bad, at least for 3 costs, especially with the stats the Grand Bois has. And then from reserve, you may have target opponent draw a card. If you do, I gain anchored. I mean, and then the reserve effect, when another character joins your expedition, I gain 1 boost up to a max of 2. So this is just seemingly just a solid card. I feel like there's a lot of other uniques within Ortis that are probably better than it, but if this is the type of thing where you don't have a bunch of uniques or you don't want to spend a lot of money on uniques and you have, if you want to play a unique, I think this is a good Grand Bois. We're talking technically 445 in stats if you're behind in your companion expedition, played from hand, and then potentially when a character joins your expedition, this can get up to a 556 and can anchor itself if you have your opponent draw a card, on top of creating another Ordis Recruit if your companion's behind. So if you just play with your companion being behind, this could technically be a solid just stat stick overall. So not a bad card as a whole. It probably is better than the ones I've seen thus far. So another Grand Bois. All right, down to the last pack here. 4 total uniques. Have a possibility of getting lucky and hit that 5th unique. That is a bit iffy when it comes to the boxes. Hopefully we can. If not, we'll just go ahead and review the uniques we did get, put them in order, and yeah, go from there. And we didn't hit it. As we hear my dog prance around in the background. But yeah, that is all for this box. We can take a quick look at the uniques we did get and do a quick review on what order we think they go in. First and foremost was the Scribbling Starfish, probably my favorite art of the uniques that we hit. Not necessarily of the effect itself, but solid card. Lets you roll a die as far as being able to get 4+, and then potentially get a character that afternoon that costs 1 less. Would have been cool if it was just a card, but it does say character. And then from hand, allowing you to discard a permanent if you have 3 or more base statistics of 0 among characters you control. So we're going to set this down here in the middle for now, and then we'll play from that. Second one was this Grand Bois, I believe. Lets you resupply if your expedition is behind, and if you let your opponent draw a card, it gains anchored. Not a big fan of this one. Has a solid stat stick as a whole, but still gonna put this one behind the Scribbling Starfish. Next is the Ysmir Engraver. We do have a from hand effect of being able to give target character sleep if you have a landmark. And then from reserve, we are able to spend a boost to discard a target character with hand cost 3 or less. Would have been cool if it was target permanents or characters, but can't have everything. But it is solid for what we can see. Costs a little bit much, but I think I'm still going to put this above the Scribbling Starfish. Not by much, but as far as an actual card, you know what? Yeah, I actually think I'm going to put the Scribbling Starfish ahead, not because of the effect, but just because I like the art more of the Scribbling Starfish, and the balance of the costs and the effects are too close to call. Otherwise, I would probably put the Ysmir Stargraver ahead. Star Engraver, you want to play Stargraver? Engraver, either way. Last card, Grand Bois, 3 from hand, 5 from reserve, letting you create a Ordis Recruit and target expedition if your companion expedition is behind, and from reserve, opponent draw a card, gain anchored, and then passive effect of getting some more boosts once you play a character in one of your expeditions. 3 from hand, 5 from reserve. Although it is not a show-offy unique, it's definitely, I think, the most consistent out of all of these, and probably the one you would be most likely to use, assuming you don't have any other amazing uniques in Ordis. I tend to have a lot. I think that's the most uniques I have of any faction. But because of that, I think with the pure ability of putting out a lot of stats, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the number 1 spot between these 4 cards. Unfortunately, we didn't hit the 5th unique, but plenty of other boxes to take a look at in the future. But we'll go from 3-5 Grand Bois, 3-3 Scribbling Starfish, purely for the art, 4-5 Ysmir Engraver, and the last place, the other Grand Bois. So Grand Bois sandwich, basically. Either way, thanks for everyone that's watching, and I will see you in play on the next day.